lot of very interactive group discussion occurring. It's one of the great things about this conference, and it's one of the great things I'm really proud of about these people. So their ability to be transparent and so giving of their time and effort and expertise and really connect with people's questions. So we wanted to kind of get all of us out here at one time, which was a fantastic idea, and just sort of kind of have at it. This hammer is kind of sticky in the end, so I don't know what people were doing with this over here, but go have a way.
As far as prepare people for games, but as far as practice, putting them into an environment, bad coaching, putting them into an environment for talking like that, like close pretty much of the time. They say defensive backs, they do a lot of close stuff in their practice. And so a lot of them get judged based on their footwork or whatnot, or how they go ahead and receive the coach. When do you go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and not prepare for that at all? Do you even consider that? It's like, how much time you spend on that? That is something that a lot of people are asking, like, no, I want my forward better than this coach, or this idea, react like the coach would, kind of thing.
Who are you asking, Greg?
Yeah, do you have a...
Sean.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted Everson, even though he stuck around for a few hours, I wanted Everson to be able to share a few words. And the reason why I bring up Everson is not because he plays defensive back. He doesn't. But he uses a quote that he signed on a Pro Bowl jersey from 2 years ago to me, from Bruce Lee, of course, that says, there is no movement really that we're really concerned about. The movement is in itself and what we're after, right? And the whole idea is, at least what Bruce Lee says, is the highest technique that is to have no technique. My technique is a result of your technique. My movement is a result of your movement, right? So even though you say that the defensive backs coach is going to judge the footwork, right? That footwork is based on what in context? It's based on the receiver, right? So when, at least I can speak for Cam to a certain degree, because we've had conversations oriented around this, certainly, Tyler, Tommy, myself. For me, it's when you start to put them in these problem-solving situations, the footwork, the movement follows the problem. Does that make some sense?
Yes.
And so, by making their footwork better out of context, at least for me personally, my perspective, I think doesn't have transfer to when they get into the environment and that problem is no longer there and they have to perform, maybe in window.
Yeah, at least for me, I just work with the DB coach, like W stuff. So not one-on-one context, because I know that stuff's not done yet. But it's like a closed environment, like doing all the
In the window.
Yeah, in the windows. So, like, because I have guys that come in and like, oh, we need to work on this drill, we need to work on this drill. Like, how much time do you even dedicate on that or do that? Yeah.
At least with me personally, big fat zero.
I can say from the perspective of me being involved in it, absolutely zero. But one of the things that varies based off the year, but they have the opportunity, it might be 10 minutes at the very beginning of the session, that they are preparing for their session to ensue. So they own their warm-up. Now the warm-up may be products of what we've done before, it may be something they're creating completely. But when I initially had guys come, they may actually go through some of that themselves. I'm not doing anything with it necessarily, but they have the opportunity to do that as part of their ownership. I will say that has started to diminish and has diminished, the more I work with them. But that's the only time it really ever occurred in the situations that I've done.
No, I was just going to say, because I have a specific example to go with that question, is what Sean said is great, where you develop, if you're developing it using contextual-based activities, like the movement's still happening, so they're still coordinating that movement. So I had a specific example of a kid who played safety in high school. He was a high school kid, and we didn't do any of the ladder stuff, anything like that. And I actually knew this other guy who was a big-time ladder guy. So I used to know him, and I don't want to talk to him anymore, not because of his ladders, but
It was me. That's a valid.
there's other reasons involved. But he was running my camp, and the kid that I worked with, it was a safety, went to this camp, and it's exactly what you're talking about. They went through these individual drills on the ladder, and all that stuff, coach pointing and all that stuff. And the kid was totally comfortable with it. He did all of it, and the ladder guy was just like, I thought you never did ladders. He's like, I don't. Just so it's just an example of like, I think it's just because they're getting more comfortable moving in general. That like if you can tell your client in that situation, like hey, look, we're still working those movements. You just got to cover the back while you're doing it. And maybe you can use it in a warm-up if you want to. I'll do that with some of my pro day guys. We're working on that because we know they're going to do that at the pro day, right? But, I mean, I would say 8 times out of 10 that I've seen, if they are good with those contextual drills, and you can actually prove it to them later. You can say, let's just run through it once and let's just see how it looks. They're going to feel good doing it. And then they're just, you're going to be like, so it's already been developed. It's just been not me pointing, just reacting to something.
Before we go further, I certainly would want to hear from Bobby's perspective or point of view with that, simply because of the pro day or combine prep as well, knowing that that's a movement action. To kind of give that caveat though, sort of with what Cam said, is in dynamical systems ideas or ecological dynamics related ideas, there's still the idea of effectivities, right? So you potentially could work the movement out of context to a certain degree and expect it to potentially emerge if they're trying to organize or coordinate or control their degrees of freedom, to potentially affect their effectivities a little bit more positively. But from your perspective with pro day, combine prep specifically, or then if it continues to be a thing that you guys do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I think, to play devil's advocate just a bit, I agree with them. The problem that we have is that if I've got, this year we have 37 draft prep guys, well, maybe 11 of them had a low draft grade. So a lot of these guys are long shot guys. So guess what? If their W drill doesn't look really good, they don't get to show that they're good at playing defensive back. So I've got 2 options. I can bet on the fact that movement begets movement, which I believe in. And I think that functionality and training on the highest of levels will translate to cleaner move in a good scout should go like that. But however, what we found is that scouts will look at a W drill and they don't have the right depth and angles in the W drill specific to the W drill. And 90% of those scouts will say the kid doesn't have good hips or mobility in their ankles, and they're not going to be defensive back. And the defensive back drills that they do at a pro day, they're not good drills to evaluate defensive backs. So do we get to change that? None of us up here have that power. None of us have draft picks. So we're faced with the fact that I have to prepare them for tasks I don't believe in. So I look at it like we're training a decathlete, so I need to prepare them to excel at this. So I don't leave it in the skills coach's hands. What we do is we'll build it in. So as part of our warm-up, warm up the tissues, we're trying to expose them just like anything else that you would do. And then moving out of the warm-up, we will typically do 2 to 3 full-speed drills. We'll break it up in segments, do the drill. If it's the way I want, we completely move on. I'll do a simple transition and I'll move to something that I think it actually matters, which is what this whole process is about. But it gives us an opportunity to cover the spectrum so the athlete doesn't have any emotion. Things holding the back, they're not being prepared, emotionally and psychologically they feel comfortable. And then physically we address it if they do something that's like, why are you doing that? It's just like just that specifically. Why did you do that in the W drill? Because I know your body doesn't have to move that way. Do you know you're moving this way? No. Well then you can make mention of it and they can change it because that's not really a sport. It's synchronized swimming. It's like it's a thing. It's like like doing karate. It's not fighting. But if they don't ace it, they don't get an opportunity. So we've got this paradox. It's like it doesn't really matter what I think about it. What matters is if my athletes do good at it or I don't. I get judged by it and they get jobs. So we've got to get aced it. So respective to what all they're saying, if they're coming to Sean, they're not coming to Sean for that. That's his scope. Like that's his focus. Now what he does can affect that and make it much better. There's no question. I don't doubt that. But for us, our thing is minimum effective dose to those things, kind of like what Cam says. If it checks out good enough, we're going to move on, even in that particular day, to things I think are going to be beneficial as fast as possible.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I've got kind of a little bit different question, but so Bob, you alluded to this during your presentation about, breaking through barriers, and I personally have witnessed this. I've known Sean for many years now, watched him get beaten and bloodied in this industry of being a guy who totally went against what everybody else was doing, to now putting together one hell of a conference 2 years in a row, let alone this conference be the one that brings both sides together and still continuing to buck what people are traditionally saying is right or wrong or whatever. But I guess my question leading up to that is actually for Matt. he's the one that's really not in the industry per se. And I'm curious, are you an outcast? I mean, because you're obviously thinking the same way that these guys are, but as a scout or evaluator, do you find that people think you're crazy because body control to you is an idiotic concept?
You know what, I would answer that. I would answer that as yes initially, but I would also say that I think it's because of the language and language barriers that exist. And I don't mean that means that the language needs to change entirely in the sense that they're looking at bad things. I think what we're finding is that there might be a larger way of framing everything for better understanding across the board. So I think that what happens is after short discussions, I think many people are like, well, of course, you're calling it. I hear evaluators say, well, that's what I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, if that's what you're doing, then let's try to use that language, and you maybe be shocked at what types of ways it might change your perspective of what you're seeing. And within my world, which is a very limited world, I mean, like I said, I'm more the citizen scientist, the hobbyist, and the passionate person than I am the pro scout. But still, I would say to you is that, yeah, it's still a little avant-garde, and it's still considered a little avant-garde because I think that requires at least that initial investment and open-mindedness. And I do think that some people, many, many great people, will go immediately down that road. Some people need to be urged down that road. Others may have or may not have the time to do so. So I would say, and answer that question by saying is, I think people respect, and when you respect them for their opinion, and they respect the effort, time, and energy you put into your opinion, I think that respect level carries the weight it needs to formulate good conversations. So my goal is to just continue conversations, and I've never heard or seen anybody when I afford them that respect, and they afford me that respect as well, that we're all passionate and interested. I've never seen closed doors, for me. Now that's not to say that I can speak for these gentlemen and their experiences, but for me, in my world, that's been the bridge that we've all made on. Mutual respect, understanding, and a willingness to have a discussion. And when I do that, and when I've seen that, I feel like the evaluation community wants to always get it right. And I think everybody wants to get it right. We want to get it right. We want to get it right. There's something that we can do to incrementally get closer to that. I've seen nothing but open arms.
I got a question for you. Before I have that question, it's just a question that's been burning in my mind. How come there's been so much pushback or lack of interest shown in some of the ideas that we put out when you do have people that you interact with from a scouting standpoint? When you use this player problem solver oriented paradigm, because it certainly hasn't, I mean, it's going to take some time to do knowledge at in the past, but why is it that you feel scouts are so apprehensive to change what they've done? Because that's what they've always done.
I think the medium is a challenge. I think part of that is the challenge of the medium that I solely existed. I don't have opportunities to have rich discussions where we can have a discourse in any way. And even though, 140 characters or whatever we're up to now, even with film and characters, it's still a very closed environment for communication. That clarification requires a lot of resources for people, both in terms of even quantifying, even building the question that they have a question about, and not being willing to explore that. I think that's part of the resistance that I think is like, I'll say something about affordances, and we've talked about the nature of affordances being different means to different peoples. I'll try to put it into opportunities. I'll try to not scale it back, but try to provide synonyms to the best of my ability to help engage. And I think the medium that I'm having this discourse in is a little bit harder.
So do you feel it's though that they just believe in their current approach? Or is it that they just don't know what they don't know?
That seems to be the response. I've had several people that people don't know what they don't know. I've had that response come back to me quite often as I've pursued and asked questions about this and presented ideas. Well, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm like, articles that I thought were really cool for me to listen to, read, and understand. Now, you take that however you want, and maybe you want to ask more questions, and we can go down that road. Or sometimes maybe that's the end of the discussion.
My question was kind of this whole like movement mastery, and there's kind of a framework or a US framework. Kind of this we come down, and the thing we kind of work within is called the LTE. It's kind of the long-term athlete development pathway, and the big buzzword right now in Canada is like physical literacy. And a lot of these skills that throw into jumping, the spatial awareness, changing direction, that's kind of Sport for Life, is kind of the organization that sets this LTE framework and this physical literacy. So just out of curiosity, just for future reading,